doing today, buddy?
Doing good.
All right. So this is Tre Wilfong, aka the Barbarian, the Hammer, the Surgeon. We got like a bunch of nicknames for this kid, but I'm excited today because it's our first video that we're going to have posted on YouTube with interviews with some of our former core wrestlers. Tre Wilfong is a student at Charlotte Christian School down here in Charlotte, North Carolina. You've been wrestling since like what age? 10?
8.
8? Wow, 8 years old, started wrestling. Been involved in a lot of sports throughout his life, but we're really excited to have him down. And as you guys can see right now, he's grown up a lot. He's in high school now, going into your sophomore season.
Yes, sir.
Sophomore season. And started with core wrestling in terms of wrestling goes, and his dad has been a coach at core for years, but his dad over the last few years has really taken over as his main primary coach in high school, off season, everything included. They have a great relationship, and we've been friends for a long time, so excited about the conversation. Hopefully, with today's conversation, my goal and my hope is to give younger kids that are thinking about wrestling, parents who are thinking about getting their kid involved in the sport or who are currently, parents of kids in the sport, a little bit of insight to what it takes to be a champion in this sport and really other sports too. So we'll talk a lot about that today. So I've got a couple of questions for you, man. So we'll get some warm-up questions first. Took some notes, got on my glasses so I can make sure I see this stuff, get a little bit older. But the first thing is just basic introductions. Again, Coach Stan Banks, heading up core wrestling. Wrestled back in the day at Chapel Hill, wrestled in North Carolina growing up in high school. You guys can check out my profile on our website to find out more about me. Today's more about Tre. We talked about him being in high school now, Charlotte Christian, here at a local school in Charlotte. And let's talk a little bit about your resume. So when I think about Tre, so let's take it back to old school. AAU New Wing, how many state championships?
Honestly, I don't remember.
You lost count.
I lost count, but it was definitely tough in the first couple because I don't think I went to rookies. I think I just went to Burroughs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I don't think we took you to the rookie stakes. Yeah. So coming out, I think the first state tournament you placed, but you didn't win.
I didn't win that.
But you won between NC-Way and AAU probably 4 or more state tournaments, right? Elementary, middle school age, right? Coming up to that. Probably more, probably like 8. So, once you got into like your second or third year, you were winning states pretty much every year. Got into a little bit of freestyle Greco, and I know you like the Greco a lot.
Yeah, I loved it.
So you still like Greco more than folk style, or is it kind of the same?
It's kind of sad. I haven't been able to practice for Greco or freestyle because not other places.
Yeah. That's one of these we're looking to bring to core wrestling. Hopefully get some more freestyle Greco clubs going. But going into high school, your freshman year was last season, COVID year, and you won your first high school state tournament, right?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. That's a good feeling, man. There's nothing like your first high school state tournament. So tell me how you felt, man, and what were the emotions like?
Well, it was kind of weird because when I saw a kid come in, you know how like you're trying to scout kids, you're like, dang, he looks good. But then I saw a kid, he was like jacked, like 5% body fat. I'm like, you're just like, dang.
Yeah.
But I was like, you probably not in my weight class. And then once I saw him, I was like, oh. Like, this kid, he was my hardest match. I didn't have him in the finals.
Yeah.
But I still pinned him. Because, once you get down to 5% body fat above, it's hard to keep energy.
It is, man. You know a lot about that because you were pretty lean this year too.
Yeah.
Now he was a senior, right?
May have been a junior.
Junior, senior. Okay, he's definitely an upperclassman. You were a freshman going into that. He was an upperclassman. You ended up pinning him your best competition at the state tournament. Won your first state title. Couldn't have been more proud of you, man. Me and your dad were sharing a lot of text messages and screaming and hollering, but couldn't have been more happy, man. And looking over that, it brings me to kind of some basic kind of fun questions. We talked about the resume, but I want to hear some fun questions because some of the kids out there, some of the parents want to know who the real Tre is, right? On the mat, he's pretty intimidating, but we want to know who he is underneath all that rugged exterior. So the first thing is, you're pretty disciplined with your nutrition for the most part, for most high school kids. You work out pretty hard, man. I know you lift pretty hard. When you have a cheat day, what's your favorite cheat meal?
Probably just a bunch of ramen.
Ramen. So ramen noodles, that's your favorite. What's your favorite flavor for ramen noodles?
I guess the spicy one. It's good because I used to eat the chicken flavor all the time.
You know, I gotta talk to your dad, man. That's like jailhouse food, man. You know that, right? Awesome. So ramen noodles, favorite cheat meal. We talked about this a little bit over lunch, but if you had to choose, man, favorite team, Iowa or Penn State?
Penn State for sure. I like the training and the coaches.
Training and coaches. Talking about what you like about the training.
The training, they don't like they go over technique in the beginning, but it's still like they're scrambling, so you guys can help each other out, and it's more like of a live.
Yep.
So like feels more realistic because you're going live and they can tell you what you're doing wrong in a live rather than just practicing one technique. And you're not like guys not defending it. You're just letting you do it. Then he tells you what's wrong, but then if you're going live and he's doing it, then you can feel like what the other person's gonna do and then how you can fix it in live.
Yeah, I've been doing some research on that, man. As a coach, and I'm always looking for better ways to train the kids, right? I come from old school, man. You drill. And there's some live wrestling, but you drill. And there's a lot to that, right? I mean, especially when you're dealing with younger wrestlers, newer wrestlers, drilling is critical. But I think there's different stages of drilling. What I'm learning is you have teaching, you know, where like, look, I'm showing you the move for the first time. We're gonna take it slow. We're not trying to break a sweat. Let's just learn the move, right? Then you have drilling, which is obviously pretty hard work and it's a lot of repetition. You get pretty boring, but it's required. Then you have sparring. So it sounds like sparring is the thing that you're talking about, what you enjoy doing. Okay, have you done sparring like with your dad or Charlotte Christian, or is it just something you've seen with the Penn State guys on YouTube?
No, we spar sometimes at school, but like it's not as long as they probably do.
Right. Yeah, they got some pretty funky guys. I mean, all their teams, you can tell they're fearless, man. Yeah. Like no one on Penn State's team is afraid to go to the back, and I think it pays off. So proof's in the pudding. But again, Iowa, Penn State, two very, very strong programs. You know, we're not saying one was better than the other, but as far as Tre's opinion, that would be the one you went for.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. So, two wrestlers. We know what happened at the Olympic trials, but just in general, who's your favorite guy? Kyle Degg or Jordan Burroughs?
I'd say Jordan Burroughs. Growing up, and I heard Kyle Degg, but Jordan Burroughs, I heard him all the time.
Yeah.
His doubles.
Just for the record, we got posters of Jordan Burroughs right there and a poster up here of Kyle Degg up in the corner. You can't see it on screen, but we respect both those guys. They're both studs. And of course, Kyle just won this last year to take the number one spot on the Olympic team. Both just probably two of the best representatives of the U.S. You can't go wrong with either one. I mean, they're both great guys, hard workers, winners. But yeah, I think I would have to choose Jordan too, man. Between the two, he's kind of my favorite. So, but they're both awesome. Next question: favorite style. So I know you don't have a lot of opportunities to train for Greco around here, but you got freestyle, Greco, folk style. If you had your choice, like Tre, you can only choose one. Which one would it be?
That's hard. Probably folk style because Greco, I'm good, but like I haven't got too good of a feel for it yet.
Yeah.
I know if I go against someone good who knows what they're doing.
Greco's tough, man. I mean, I love Greco too. You know, I like throwing, like those lap drops, and I know you love Greco. But it is tough. You have to be I think, even if you're in a wrestling state like Oklahoma, Iowa, you got to be in a good city to really have a good club to really teach that. So that is tough, but I think folk style sounds like the one for you, but if you had your choice, it'd be Greco if there was a good club in town. Yeah. So favorite takedown. You think about leg attacks, you think about, feet to back. If you're down to 15 seconds, it's quadruple overtime, you're going for the national title, what's your takedown?
Probably a single leg off the underhook.
Okay, underhook to a single. High single?
Low single.
Low single, okay, I got you. So yeah, I was looking at some of your video. I know you like those underhooks. I think that single leg, low single leg or like a sweep?
Probably sweep. Yeah.
Sweep, yeah, I like the sweep too. I think you can get that done. All right. So the last favorites question. Thinking about all your matches, all your state titles, all your wins. You've had some big wins, man. Which win, which tournament, you know, if it was one match, one tournament, what's your favorite win ever? Like you were just the happiest, man. This is the most rewarding win I ever had.
Oh, that's hard. Oh, I can't remember what was that. I think it was at I-64.
Mm-hmm.
And at the duels the day before, the individual, I think I wrestled, there's one kid, well there's two of them, but one of them I got pinned to in the duels, but I know I was gonna see him the next day in individuals, and I ended up pinning him out. You know, I don't usually get fired up after a match. I don't be like screaming. I was usually all calm.
Yeah, you normally keep it pretty tight.
Yeah. I was gonna let's go.
Yeah. You're probably one of the most reserved kids, which I want to talk about that because I think that's a part of one of your best qualities is keeping things under control emotionally when you're wrestling. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I remember my last match in college. I knew I was done. I wasn't going to try to make the Olympic team. I ended up placing third at the national, and after that, it was just like the emotions, man. It was. Yeah, you remember those wins. You remember those, so that's cool. So we got a chance to get to know Tre a little bit better. Again, multiple time state champ in high school, freshman state champ. He has a chance to be a four-timer in high school, which is extremely rare, extremely special. This past summer, he placed fifth at nationals as a freshman, which is huge. He's looking for bigger and better things. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the skills and the focus areas so some of the younger kids can learn from things that you've learned. The first thing I had down was really why wrestling? So I asked that question, Tre, because wrestling's not for everybody. You know this. Wrestling is not for everybody. And as a coach and a father, I wish all kids could come in and wrestle and have fun, but every kid doesn't fit in the sport. So why do you think it was such a fit for you?
Probably because I like being on a team, which wrestling has that, but it also has an individual feel.
Yep.
Because the team's still depending on you on your match, but sometimes the team doesn't need you to win, but you still need to win.
Yeah.
So it like pushes you.
Yeah. So it sounds like that perfect combination of like team plus individual.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I looked at it. I was a little bit different growing up. I don't know if you resonated with this, but when I was your age, man, I was a pretty rambunctious little kid, man. I had two sisters. You got one sister, so you got no brother to play with. I had no brothers to play with. I was always looking to do something physical. And I didn't get in a lot of fights. I mean, I really wasn't a kid like that got in fights. I was, I didn't like bullies. I was like defending the weaker kids in elementary. I remember this vividly. But I like to physically engage with little kids. You know what I mean? Like apple fights and football and wrestling around. And it was a way for me when I realized I could do this sport. I could literally get in a fight every day and not get in trouble. That's what attracted me as a little kid. Different things as I got older, but everybody's got their own little thing. So my question now is, once you chose the sport, if the sport kind of chose you, when did you know, Tre, that you could do this? Like this is I'm a wrestler, because this is what I mean by this. You've always been in sports your whole life, right? I mean, hockey up in Canada, football, I'm sure other sports too. In your first year wrestling, you were competing, you were doing it, you were winning matches, you were losing matches, but it wasn't like you were a wrestler yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When did you realize, man, I'm a wrestler? I can do this. This is different. I am different, and I am really into this sport.
It was probably took me a while, because I was just doing it because I liked it, but I didn't think I was gonna keep doing it for too long.
But because you were still playing football for a while.
I was still playing football, but I think it was up at Dixie Nationals, and I was like, oh crap, this is a national tournament. I'm a little kid. I'm the whole country.
Yeah, down in Atlanta. Dixie. Yeah. That's a big tournament.
And I think I got third. I was like, dang, I can actually do something.
Yeah. It's a difference, man, when you start walking like a wrestler. You walk in the room, you know what's going on. You go to tournaments and you know what to expect. versus just showing up and like, oh my God, what's a bracket? You know, what's track wrestling? Why do they throw up a point for that? You start really realizing that stuff. So that's pretty cool. You know, talk to me about mat awareness. And I know your dad have talked a lot about this over the years, but you know, when you first started wrestling, like you're just scrambling for a takedown. Where can I get a point? You know, you don't really know where the points are coming from. You're moving, and then you look up at the end, you don't even know who won. And now you're at a point where you're like, okay, I know when I go to the edge, I've got to think this. I've got to, circle to the middle. I've got to really be aware on the edge, not give up any easy points. If I'm in a scramble mode, I go to my back and I'm not freaking out. I know I'm not going to get pinned because I've been there before. Yeah. You know, talk to me about that. Like, how did you get to that point?
Well, it's a little different for me because I never really got pushed to the edge too much because I usually be pushing kids to the edge. Mm-hmm. And usually if I push them down, I let them go out because I want them to get back in.
Yep.
So enough where I can stay in the middle and be where I'm comfortable at. But then, yeah, I just got used to it. And then when you wrestle, you just like, you don't need to even look. You can just feel like, oh, you need to like come in, or like if you're in a bad position, scoot out, make it look like you're trying to fight out. You're standing up, you gotta like push in, act like you're trying to take him down, or grab to a leg.
Yeah, little things like that. Staying active, so you don't get a stolen call.
But I think I got that from watching, college wrestling.
Yeah, I know your dad had you watching that Big Ten network.
Yeah.
That's a good point, man. I didn't think about that, Trey. I mean, if you were talking to your younger self right now, right, the 10-year-old, 8-year-old Trey, I look at a couple things that I think would be an advantage to build that type of confidence, the mat awareness. One is going to a lot of tournaments, like you said, getting that mat time, training, sparring versus just drilling, adding sparring in. And probably the third is watching a lot of video of people doing it right. So does that sound like something that kind of worked for you? Was that, if you had to look back on it, do you think that added to your confidence as you got older?
Yeah, it definitely did, yeah, for sure.
I think a lot of little kids come out and their parents are thinking, well, they go to practice and that's enough. Or maybe they're going to just a lot of tournaments and that's enough. But I think a lot of times what you put into your mind, watching that video, like I know your dad had you doing, I think it paid off a lot. I mean, seeing those guys, Big Ten, it doesn't get any better than that. And you're seeing it every day, so it makes sense. Next question is your mental approach. And this is really the question I was really looking forward to asking you, man. We talked about it, we were joking about my boy Justin Hardy. Trey and I were talking earlier about Justin Hardy. I wrestled with him at Chapel Hill. He's a high school coach now. They won the state tournament, I think the duels or the individual, like last year for 3A in North Carolina. He runs a wrestling club. The guy was an amazing high school and college wrestler. He's got 3 young boys, and he saw Trey at a tournament like a year ago, and told his boys to watch him, to watch this guy. They need to model their behavior off him, how he approaches the match, how he prepares. So I'm going to talk to you about that, man, because that, like, most kids don't get that. And this is a huge, huge value. If you watch this video now, you need to turn the volume up, okay? This is really, I think, what separates the average kid from the champions, the mental approach. So just talking about that, man, like, where are you now? If you had to break it down for younger kids, some things, maybe pre-match routine, how you approach training, like, what's your mental approach?
Usually, I'm not too stressed out now. When I was a little kid, obviously, I'd be all like nervous, I'm like, if I lose, I'm crying.
Yep.
Throwing fits. But as you get older, I don't get mad at myself usually for a match unless if I know I didn't do my best. So if I do my best, I know I did the best I could. There's nothing I could have done.
Yeah.
So like mentally, I'm just like, well, what else could I have done? There's nothing else I could have done.
Yeah. So your approach now is not to get so stressed out about the wins or losses. It's more about, did I do my best? Yeah. I think a lot of coaches that are a lot more successful than me, running big programs, different sports, professional level, world class, they talk about that, and the higher level athletes, getting them to focus less on the result and more on their performance. So it sounds like that's something that kind of resonates with you.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your pre-match routine. Like when you go to a tournament, what are some things that you kind of just do naturally all the time?
Well, Well, I like to think about trying to look at my kid, see if he's a strong kid, if he's fast, you know, see what type of techniques he might like to use. If I watch a match before mine and he's wrestling, but usually I like to take mental notes and try and work things that I think will work with him.
Yep.
And if those don't work the other things. Usually, also obviously I do jump rope. That gets ready, warms me up. A couple, what's it called, arm circles. You know, get blood everywhere, so I don't cramp because when I cramp yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it gets pretty bad. I don't like to fuss a lot during my match about injuries.
Yeah, you don't, man.
So there's a lot of just getting ready to see what I can do against them.
Yeah, that's a statement that you just made that is it's important for the younger kids to understand this. I know my reasons that I would tell a kid not to do this, but what are your reasons? You said you don't have to fuss a lot, like in a match where you're getting hurt. Like if there's something that's hurt, you don't really let anybody know. Why is that?
Probably part of it's just because I'm stubborn a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. The other part is because I know I'll probably be injured, but usually I don't get injured unless it's a high level tournament. If it's not, then I'm usually going against kids I could beat easily. But if it's a high level tournament, that injury can wait.
Yeah.
Like it can't be, unless it's like something's broken.
Yeah.
And I gotta give it my all.
Yeah, this is like a McGregor, right?
Yeah.
No disrespect, man. Don't come looking for me, Connie. Yeah, so, you know, as a father and as a coach, the way I would even look at that is, you know, when I first went to Chapel Hill, I remember Coach Lamb was a pretty old school, hard-nosed coach, right? He's back old school, man. And he could not stand at practice if someone screamed out for something painful, right? Like, unless you're injured. He's like, I just don't want to hear it. During a match, you better not. If you screamed out during a match, it was not good, man. And it wasn't because he was trying to be mean. He knew that psychologically that your opponent would get strength from that. I mean, most wrestlers are pretty competitive, hard-nosed guys. I mean, even your weakest wrestler, especially in Division I college, and if they see you're hurt or hear or feel, it's off. You just energize them. So I like that. I know you're probably not thinking that, but that's a great advantage of having that mentality. A few other questions on mentality, we'll wrap it up. Let's talk about your training mentality. You know, nutrition. I know you and your dad talk a lot about that. You know, as you get older, get into high school, you know, you guys want to eat what you want to eat. Like, I'm not super, but I do know, because you got a benefit, right? You got testosterone pumping through you. Your metabolism is high as it will ever be. So there's a lot of God-given gifts that you don't even need, you know, really that good. But it's good to get into the habit of it, especially when you're wrestling for, you know, top 2 or 3 positions nationally. That can make the difference. So what would you tell younger kids in terms of nutrition, some things, you know, guidelines to go by, and then also training, you know, physical training, working out?
But for nutrition, definitely get a meal plan. That definitely helps, you know. It's not hard to, you know, just put it in the microwave. It's not something, you know, you gotta like prepare or cook it. You just get your mom to cook it. That's what I do. She's nice enough to do that for me.
Yep, she is sweet.
I'm not too much of I don't eat vegetables too much, so
I heard that.
I take these pills so I can try and get better nutrition inside of me.
Those little veggie pills?
Yeah.
You gotta get them in.
Yeah.
You like fruit?
I like fruit. I try to eat pineapple.
Okay, yeah.
Fibers inside of me.
Yeah. So you are cognizant, you have a meal plan, and you have a plan that works for you, because every kid's going to be a little bit different, right? Because what works, what doesn't. But for the most part, you need to make sure you have an understanding. It sounds like, you know, protein, what kind of carbs you're putting in your body. It can just be any kind of carbs. And every kid needs some healthy fat, right? I mean, fat is good as long as you keep it on the healthy side of that. So talk to me about training. I mean, you're in high school now, you're lifting weights pretty heavy. I remember when you were in middle school, you were always an athletic kid, but there was a shift, man, between like, I think grade 7 and 8 is when you just got like caught diesel, man. I was like, good Lord, son. So what was that shift like?
Well, it was definitely, I didn't really like notice it until people were like, dang, you're looking bigger, you know? Like, put on some muscle. And like, definitely helped because when you're little, you think lifting heavy weights is all it is, but you gotta get the lightweight by the reps. Get all that muscle broken up. So that's definitely, and then always gotta lift before you practice. You lift after you practice, you won't be able to lift. I can't lift after I practice.
If you're practicing hard, man, it's hard to lift after your practice. Do you lift during season or just off season?
Our school lets us, we have a gym, so we work out before our practices on every other day. So we get, some workout in, and then we go practice after.
It's just a huge thing, man. I'm so glad to hear you say that. And I'm not surprised, because I know your dad, I know he values lifting weights and all that. But most kids don't understand the value of that. For me, it was, looking back as a grown man, looking at kids and also going through that process as a kid, it gave me a level of confidence. I mean, mental, physical, and technical skills. We talked about our 3 core skills. And technically, you could be the best technical wrestler ever. And that's very, very, very important. It's critical. But if you have no muscle to back it up, like, I don't care how quickly you get to the leg, if you can't hold on to the leg, it doesn't matter, right? If your grip isn't strong enough, so that grip strength, the back strength, the butt strength, like I tell the kids about having calf muscles for your balance and your agility, it's important. And it could really mean the difference between you make it All-American or not, state champ or not, those little things. So I'm happy to hear you say that. The other thing I'm happy to hear you say is that you're lifting during the season, because a lot of kids lift hard over the summer, the ones that are serious, and then they think the season is all about cutting weight. But you're going to be lifting throughout the season. Now, it's a different type of lifting in the season, probably higher reps, lower weight. But, the fact that you're keeping that going is going to help you prevent a lot of injury too. So that's great. So we're about done, man. I do have one final question for you. So think about coaching. You kind of answered this a little bit when you were talking about Iowa and Penn State, kind of the difference in coaching style. Both are extremely successful. I mean, you just looking at the numbers, there's not one that's better than the other in the totality of their history. But they are definitely distinct and different. What advice would you give to parents and coaches? Because you've seen a lot of them as far as like things that they should know in terms of getting the most out of kids.
Just definitely get to know your wrestler, because I know coaches, some yell with their heads off and some are chill and know that the wrestler knows what he's doing. So just know if your kid needs like a little extra push and yelling, or if he's he got it down where you can just tell him not to yell. If you see something that you can do, tell him. Don't be like yelling at him, because sometimes if you don't know your wrestlers, you gotta jumble him up.
I think that's a great point, man. Knowing your wrestler, having a style, and it's a little bit different. I mean, when you're in college, as a coach, you have the ability to recruit the kid that matches your style. At least you think he does when you recruit. I'm sure those mistakes are made, right? Like, I thought you were like me, man. But for the most part, you get to recruit more kids that gravitate towards your style, which makes it a lot easier. You can just be yourself. But in general, club coach like myself or high school, you can't recruit those kids. You got what you got. You're going to have to change like every match and really kind of match that kid's personality. But it's good that you said that, because I think a lot of coaches, we all want you guys to be successful and get the most out of the sport and have fun and have that success. But if we're not listening to you and really understanding what motivates you, we're really not helping you. So that's good advice coming from an actual athlete. But with that being said, man, I appreciate the time today, man. Great to see you as always. This is our first interview with our first core wrestler, and we're going to do a lot more of these types of videos. The way you qualify for these, in my mind, is having won a state championship in high school. And Tre has definitely done that. He's also ranked nationally, placing 5th at nationals this year. We couldn't be more proud of him. He's a great kid, great example of our core values and our core skills. And we're looking forward to more success coming from Tre. Until then, take care, guys.